Did you know Book Interrupted has swag? Check out our swag shop on bookinterrupted.com. There's hats, t-shirts, tanks, and a whole bunch more.
Parental guidance is recommended because this episode has mature topics and strong language. Here are some moments you can look forward to during this episode of Book Interrupted.
On our show, we often go in directions that show
no one
was
could
about
have predicted.
You know, they're like, what if I'm at school and it just like sprays out of my pants? I was like, have you ever seen that happen before?
I love how we've come up with so many entrepreneurial ideas.
And then they like just give that podcast out to people they want to date and be like, see if you like me.
Exactly.
I want that shirt for our swag shop, Sarah, FYI.
On the rag.
Yeah, and I'll wear it when
Yeah.
I'm not on the rag too. Mysterious.
Would it be
I'll
great if
touch
I wore
it.
my hammer pants?
Remember those?
and do a TikTok of doing the hammer dance. Whoa.
Sarah loves doing the hammer
Obviously,
dance.
yes.
Any excuse for the hammer dance.
You ready, guys? Let's do this.
Express yourself, share the wealth, hold on to your bookmarks, we're off the shelf. Express yourself, it's good for your health. Book Interrupted is off the shelf.
Welcome to Book Interrupted, a book club for busy people to connect and one that celebrates life's interruptions.
Hold on to your bookmarks. This episode, Book Interrupted, is off the shelf.
There's Kirsten.
Hi, y'all.
Hello, you.
You look so cute, everybody.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Sorry, just getting some water. I always get like so.
Yeah, I've got like a lot of different drinks. I like club soda,
Me too.
and water, and coffee.
I have iced coffee, water.
Cheers.
I got my kid's water bottle. I got my kids new water bottles, and I got Violet one with a wolf. She's like terrified of wolves, but she has a strange relationship. And she was like,
Interesting.
"Oh, you got me that because I love animals." I'm like, "Yeah," and you have like a complicated relationship with wolves. You like love them.
In
but you're-
particular.
you won't go in any room because she's like, "I think there's a wolf in there. I can't go in there alone."
Oh my gosh. Well, it's funny. My son, when he was little, I don't know, 4-ish, he was convinced that there was a mysterious cow in his room. And he'd
I
wake
love
up at
that.
night and he's like, the cow's in there. I can't, like really upset. And so one of my friends who's a therapist came over and she's kind of like a tough girl. And she's like, all right, Ari. And she came with like a trash bag and a bottle of hairspray, like hairspray. And, he couldn't read yet or anything. So she comes in and he's like, listen, I'm going to go into your room and I'm going to take care of the cow. No matter what you hear in that room, do not open the door. And he's like, okay, Zia. Okay. And she's like, do not open the door until I say, open the door. That's the only code. Okay. So she's like, I'm going to put the cow in the bag and I'm going to run out and I'll put it in the trunk of my car and then take it away. So he's like, okay. So she goes in there and she's like, all right, you cow. The whole thing. And she's pushing furniture. And he's like this. And she's like, you're getting in the bag. And she wrestles the bag and she sprays hairspray and everything. And then she bangs it and she's like, all right, I got him. She's like, be still. My son opens the door and she like runs through and she like throws open the front door. And then she comes back and she's like, you're never going to see that cow again. And then that was the end of it.
I love her. She's amazing.
I love that so much.
So funny.
I want that to be my job description.
Wouldn't that be?
Wouldn't that be so
That
fun?
would be. Actually, I think you have to just like think of like exactly how to market to parents. Like, I'm the Terminator,
Yeah.
Like any weird thing your kid has, I'm going to come in and
Yeah.
you get like a cool jumpsuit.
Oh, for sure.
I love it.
There'd be a whole uniform. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have my own theme song.
You got like a belt.
Yeah.
You got a belt with the hairspray and like the trash bags.
Yeah. The belt would be like lined with like different.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
If I was going to do it, I'd also like light a smoke bomb in there, colored smoke, like the little kind
I
of like,
love those.
So when you open the door, purple smoke comes out and the kid be like,
What did you do in there?
That's a great
Sure.
idea.
The whole spectacle,
right.
the
Right, like the
theatrics
whole
of it
show.
all. Oh, yeah.
This is like
There
right
you
up
go.
Kara's alley.
Oh, it so is. Like, honestly.
You're just gonna change your major.
She's like, career
Your
change.
new job.
Who doesn't want that for a job? How fun that
Oh
would
my
be.
Goodness.
I would love it.
Great.
And then I'd charge
Truly.
like 300 smacks for it too, like.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm putting on a show here, guys. This outfit didn't sew itself.
Came right from Target.
Oh gosh, I love
Funny.
stuff like that. That's
It's
great.
good to see you.
You too. You
It
too.
is,
How's
yeah.
how have y'all been doing?
We're good. We're down 2 people just because of like colds and that. But other than that, the normal highs and lows of life.
I
Yeah.
love it.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Like lots of ups and downs around COVID, and sort of during the pandemic redirected my attention towards fertility just because that's how I could pay the bills. You know what I mean? Just like things were so bad during the pandemic, and ended up just resuscitating something from the old conceivable that's been really helping people. And
Aw.
and mostly lots of TikTok. TikTok is so fun. I just can't get enough of TikTok.
I know it's
Great.
great. Honestly, I remember I judged it harshly at first when I first started to, I was like, I don't understand. I was like, it's just nonsensical silliness, but then I started to get into it more. It's filled with resources and it's highly entertaining.
And for the most part, very positive.
Yes.
I think it's just a platform for people to show their smarts and creativity that never would have access to a public audience. Nerdiest people who are like, I'm so nerdy, but I really love to like do this or that. But whatever they do is something so amazing. And then they've got 10,000 likes, and you're like, you go, you're just so proud of them. And
Yeah, it's so true.
have you seen the old gay guys?
No.
Their feed is something like old gays, I think. 5 old gays or old gays. I can send it if you can't find it. There's a TikTok on mine. I duetted them because we have this whole thing with the trans community in Texas now. If you're a parent of a trans child, you can be prosecuted for child abuse if you get them medication. I'm not shitting you.
That's terrible.
But yeah, just like supporting a transgendered individual who is not 18 years old is a crime now in Texas.
As if they need to be ostracized or marginalized anymore.
Right. And so like there was a TikTok that I duetted a couple days ago, and it was just like this trans person I bet they were 17 years old, and they were saying, look, here's the deal. Like I've been openly trans for 9 years. Now my parents are scared that they're going to somehow get prosecuted for this. And they've closed down the clinic where I got my medication. It's just like so bad. It's like a police state in Texas. Anyways, the old gays, which are they did this thing like don't mess with Texas trans, because in Texas we say don't mess with Texas. Texas just thinks they're so badass. When we, in many ways, were, but not now. So they made this thing about like don't mess with Texas trans, and they did like they dance. They're like 60 or 70, and they're so fucking cute, and like they'll dance in their underwear, saggy butts, and I mean they're so cute.
I love it.
They're just
I gotta
putting
check
everything
that
out there. What a
Yeah, I
crazy
love
world,
people who
eh?
have the vibe of being like unapologetic. And it's not in a like flipping you the bird F you sort of a way, but just those individuals who you can sense who are very comfortable with who they are, that they accept themselves, that sort of unapologetic. I love that. It's so just attractive.
Right, because it like gives you permission to love yourself the way you are and be like, yeah, we're all just doing our best and we're ourselves, and that's good. We're supposed to be different.
I think that's the thing. You're like, well, if that person, however they are, can be liked, and be appreciated and valued, well, what about me? Like maybe I can be valued for just who I am and who I'm not and what I think and say and do. And I don't know, I think it's very democratizing, and I don't know, it's just like pure fun. And actually, if for those of you guys who have teenagers, it is the primary way that I communicate with my kids. We talk to each other, right? But one of my kids is in college and we send each other TikToks. It's just like a way of like
That's
saying
fun.
like, hey, can you relate to this? And we might talk about it or, whatever. So
Do that as well with my oldest child is 10, and I let them use TikTok as long as it's like open door policy, that there's nothing secretive, and we've gone over the rules for being online and all that. But I noticed that as well, that my 10-year-old and I will just send each other little like funny reels and that. And even now my husband, who's 15 years older, and he was very much like a technological dinosaur for the longest time, now he's even getting in on it, and it's so adorable. Yeah, it's really fun.
your
I like
10-year-old's
it.
A daughter or a son?
Daughter. Yeah,
Do you follow me?
I think I do. Yeah.
Because I mean,
I'll double
the Period
check.
Expert is all about peer. Sometimes it's a little bit sexy, but
Actually, yeah, I should get Charlie, my oldest. I should get her following your feed because she's going to be coming up to that.
what I'm most interested in right now is how do we support future menstruators as they begin puberty? Because what I found was that it was really sad. Such intense shame around their changing bodies, around the way that other people start relating with them, going from like a little girl, around their confidence level, around their desire to do smart things. Everything starts really fucking up as their body starts to change. And they are so hungry for information that they don't feel comfortable asking anyone, evidently, but me. Asking questions. I can't remember if we talked about this on the last episode, asking, like, when my first period comes, is blood going to spray out?
Yeah, they need someone to ask that to. Yeah.
They're like, what if I'm at school and it just like sprays out of my pants? I was like, have you ever seen that happen before? No, but they just have good luck. I'm like, no, it just, no. What's it gonna, but they said, like, this is a good question. Like, what does it feel like when the menstrual blood comes out? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't really, like a nosebleed kind of. I just couldn't even think of, but
like
less.
nothing. It's a sneaky little snake.
Yeah.
That'll get you in your white pants. So put on your period panties. Have you seen that movie Turning Red?
I was just gonna say that. We just watched it.
Oh yes, we just watched it 2 days ago. Yeah.
We watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
Mimi, you forgot your pads. I wanted to die at that part of the movie. The mom shows up at the school of the main character who's 13, and the mom thinks the daughter has started her period. And she goes to the school property, and her daughter's name is Mimi. And she's like, Mimi, you forgot your pads. Or Mimi, you forgot your pads. And she's just like, no.
The whole class is looking. Yeah,
Oh
so
my gosh.
good.
Is it a mainstream movie?
It's a Pixar. It's
Yeah.
a Pixar movie. It's big.
On Disney Plus.
I
Yeah.
was reading
it-
some reviews about
It's
it,
brand
and like
new.
it's so interesting because you can see like the adult discomfort sometimes, being like, I was watching this with my son and I didn't know, and he's 10 and he's not ready to learn this, but this is
Oh.
exactly what he should be. And people feeling like, oh no, it started this conversation we haven't had. I'm like, he's 10 and he doesn't know that this is a thing yet.
About the human body?
He's going to be experiencing that with people in his life and stuff. And it's just so good that it was so normal in the movie. It just seems kind of what a mom might do.
Yeah.
Like, maybe a little bit more like over the top because the mom's over the top. But it was great to see that in a movie.
It was.
Like,
And it dealt with like the other aspects that go along with like your
Adolescence.
first period. Yeah. It was like you could see that, it was puberty. It was the rite of passage into puberty and that transitional moment from being a child to being more of a young adult, and just noticing that you're like, oh my God, I'm starting to fall for this individual. Like, I'm acting all silly. What's happening to me,
it's good. I
I
it's
love
like nice
that.
to see that in a mainstream
What is it
kids
called again?
movie. Turning Red.
I was going to tell you that you should watch it with Mati.
You
Like, it's
totally
really-
should, Sarah.
I think one of my friends, she was mentioning that movie. She's like, you really should watch it. It's a really good You and a Me Movie. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's about,
It kind of
about
covers
puberty.
like the big emotions
Yeah.
of puberty too. Like, it's not just like the mechanics, you're going to get your period or whatever. And it's metaphorical in a lot of ways. So it does a really good job of introducing ideas and concepts that are kind of hard to teach about explicitly, but the overarching theme of the movie, you kind of get it, especially when you're a grown-up looking back at your own experience of that stage of your life.
It's funny, right? Because you're like, oh boy.
God, weren't some of the moments were cringe worthy. You could empathetically put yourself in the place of the main character, and you're just like, no. But
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to write. Now I'm like, oh, they beat me to it. I should have made that movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so good. I have a 4 and 6-year-old and they loved it. We talked about periods already because
My 7-year-old
wanna
boy
know
loved
everything.
it.
Oh, that's so
Wonderful.
good.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that like too many parents that I talk to say things like, well, I'm just going to wait until my kid gets their first period. I'm like, you have missed the boat. You don't want that to just be a surprise, right? And when you don't talk about it, you communicate that it's not safe to talk about. You're right. They're changing. Their underwear is full of discharge. Nobody's mentioning that they have boobs now. They have to ask for a bra usually. What I just realized is that time is so precious and so formative about how, a girl, I don't know, a good language, like correct language for someone who has not had their first period, who doesn't identify as a female, like future menstruator, just as they're becoming a woman, right? they hate everything about it. And there's just all this secrecy and shame around it. And I'm like, well, no wonder we hate ourselves. No wonder we don't value ourselves as beautiful, not beautiful like the Instagram beautiful, but like beautiful humans and interesting and valuable and
Miracle makers.
yeah, miracle makers,
Miracle
future.
makers,
Like
yeah.
I would say, like to my girls on TikTok, I would say, they're like, but how am I going to talk about this with, how do I ask my mom for pads? And I was like, why do you not want to talk about it? Like, I'm just so ashamed. And I was like, let's talk about that. First of all, we got bamboozled since the beginning of time, telling us that we're like dirty and filthy. And the reality is without your menstrual blood, there is no future to our species. If the menstrual blood all dries up, our species is over in one generation. Done, gone. And I said, plus, when you become a menstruator, you can take 2 cells and squeeze them together and make a human. You can make a human. That means that you are a superhuman. That means that when you become a menstruator, you don't just become like this dirty, filthy rag on the dirt in the, in the gutter, but that actually you transform into a superhuman. And how do we help girls and future menstruators have that as they go through that experience of their transforming body, meaning that like I'm the caterpillar in the chrysalis, and it's like, all right, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, but as they break out and they menstruate, that they're like, holy shit, like I'm the coolest thing on the planet. I'm a butterfly, right? To make humans. And I want to see like what happens to society when that's the kind of messaging that all future menstruators are getting as they go through puberty. I think we'll see a very different world.
Totally. Because like
too.
I only really embraced it just 5 minutes ago when I said that. No, just kidding. But like, you know what I like, maybe after I had a baby, right? And then I was like,
Yes.
so that means that there's a giant chunk of time where you're the ashamed whatever one, right? So I'd like to shorten that time. There might be that little, difficulty that, growth is often uncomfortable, but I'd like that to be something that isn't prolonged for women, because it's such a shame. Like, it's just such a shame that that's the way that it is when the truth is just so the polar opposite.
I mean, have you guys read
Yes.
the essay by Gloria Steinem, If Men Could Menstruate?
Oh.
It's
I
really
read it
worth
a
read.
bit ago. Yeah.
It's really worth reading. I mean, she just says, if men could menstruate, if men menstruated, menstruation would be the coolest thing on the planet. If men menstruated, men would make us feel bad for not menstruating. If men menstruated, they'd be wearing shirts on the rag and they'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm on the rag. You know what I mean?
You would.
And we would be diminutive because we did not menstruate. Like, it's just, it's
You can't even do this. You
can't
couldn't
even
do it
do
if you
this.
tried.
Exactly.
I want that shirt for our swag shop, Sarah, FYI.
On the rag.
Yeah, and I'll wear it when
Yeah.
I'm not on the rag too. Mysterious.
I have so many t-shirts. I want to make one that says on the rag. I want to say, fuck yeah. And I want to say, can't touch this. Because it's like, we get bombarded with so many messages about, we're not good enough, all the messages that aren't useful to us. And I just want to like wear a t-shirt every single day. Just say, can't touch this. Can't touch this. No matter
Counter
what you do,
message.
can't touch this. You just for myself, even because I'm on camera, maybe I'll do it backwards, even so that when I'm on camera, I can remind myself, can't touch this.
Can't touch this. Yeah.
Watch out, Hammer will come get you. I heard he's not good with money. You
Probably.
know what I mean? Like, that's mine.
I'll give him a cut. Would it be
I'll
great if
touch
I wore
it.
my hammer pants?
Remember those?
And do a TikTok of doing the hammer dance. Whoa.
Sarah loves doing the hammer
Obviously,
dance.
yes.
Any excuse for the hammer dance.
See her go.
This interruption is brought to you by Unpublished. Do you want to know more about the members in Book Interrupted? Go behind the scenes? Visit our website at www.bookinterrupted.com.
Book interrupted.
This interruption is brought to you by procrastinating. We talked about it in the 4% fix. And guess what I'm doing today? Procrastinating. I'm supposed to be cleaning my house, then reading one of the books for Book Interrupted, and there's a lot of other things, some stuff for work, and nope, you know what I really want to do is I want to bake, so I'm going to bake instead.
Book interrupted.
I was supposed to go on a date with somebody recently, and they're like, "Oh, I see you're on a lot of podcasts," and I was like, "Oh yeah, whatever, And he's like, he found one of my best friends is a professional comedian, and the guy listened to the podcast, and immediately he's like, "I don't want to go on a date with you," and I was like, "Okay," and he goes, "You're not a fit for me. And I said, okay. And I knew that probably something I had said on the podcast was, upsetting.
Controversial to him.
I said the period word. Yeah.
I just think it's really funny that like he, by making that choice, like, oh, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry you haven't evolved more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like-
All he heard was, this is what he heard out of all the interesting things we could have talked about. He was like, I didn't really want to go out with him in the end because it's kind of like,
Exactly. He revealed himself.
Right.
but even before this, so I was already kind of like, oh, maybe not a good fit. And I said, well, just out of curiosity, like, what was what were some of the things that were so mismatched? I didn't want to say off-putting. And he said, your relentless use of profanity, your lack of modesty.
Oh my God, you shameful woman.
Those
I
are the
know.
qualities I search for in good
We don't want to hear about your period blood.
He's like profanity, lack of modesty, pomposity, and full-blown conceitedness.
Pomposity.
Oh.
He's so
What
threatened.
does pomposity?
Should be she's pompous, like
Pomp is
arrogant.
like, I think I'm better than everybody else. And I was like, okay, number 1 and 2 for sure. I do not have modesty and don't choose to. And definitely I swear like a sailor, but I'm working on it.
No, fuck yeah.
Well, you know why? Because the FCC, like if you use it a lot on podcasts, then sometimes that can ding people.
Well, that's the next
Oh.
shirt. Fuck the FCC.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
I had
Barredo FCC fucking can't control.
that. I like it. I'm gonna write that down. So anyways, it's just
But
so
instead
funny, you know?
of
And then I was
fuck,
like,
you spell it It's like different somehow. FUCCK.
uh-huh.
Yes.
I don't know, or FCCK. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, but you could do it in different colors and different
Like
fonts.
you'd have to like write it.
Yeah.
It could be like F,
Kim
big
will
F,
figure it
U,
out. You know what I'm talking about, Kim.
CCK, and then U. And then
Yeah,
in
yeah.
parentheses, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
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 See, you guys, we could have a whole like t-shirt company.
I can make that shirt for you and send it to you. I'll make it for you. And send
I
it to
want
you.
a copy of every shirt, please, Sarah.
Leah puts them all together and then they put it in the swag shop. So we made a.
I'll put in the swag.
I love how
happened
we've come up
before.
with so many entrepreneurial ideas in less than 30 minutes, like about fun swag shop ideas and how to save children from
From
imaginative
clowns.
creatures.
I thought you were going to say how to save children from the shame of growing up.
I like
Stop.
this idea.
I thought
of,
that's where
like-
she was going too. I was like, oh.
I like the idea of like having people come on your podcast. So you just have the conversations with them and then they like just give that podcast out to people they want to date and be like, see if you like me. Right?
That's a great like
the
dating resume.
The dating resume podcast. And like you could be like, I want to put myself out there. And then so people could listen to all the podcasts, be like, that person's nice, and like contact them or whatever.
That's
Actually, you know,
another brand new idea, like for a dating app. You just compile
Put it
all
on
the
TikTok.
podcasts. You're like, want to get to know me? Here's my library.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, actually, I just had an idea for you guys. You let people hire you like $5,000, like a lot of money, right? And you bring them on and you just interview them. And it's basically like for dating purposes. You know what I mean? And then men would watch it and pay you to watch it. I mean, all you do is you just connect the people, right? You don't need investing or anything like that. It'd be just like a way for people to get introduced to other people that they would want to date through an interview process where somebody could watch a whole interview.
And
Like,
then
very
throw
low
out
like
risk,
it.
right?
huge
And they could be
questions
like, I don't
at
like
them.
her. And she doesn't even ever have to know. It removes that.
Have all the crazy questions we come up with. Like, and how about this? What about this riding a unicorn thing? Like things that come out of us for no reason, right?
Yeah, when we talked about Merkins. What is it? Was it Merkins?
Oh my
We've
gosh.
gone into
Yeah.
Merkins.
Have you
One
learned
Merkin.
about what
One
Merkins
episode.
are?
I have no
Kristen?
idea. What
Oh
is
my
that?
God.
It's like
It
a
was-
toupee for your genitals.
Lady bits?
It's a pubic toupee.
And it's called a
pubes.
merkin.
So
Pubic.
is this because people like, we're all like waxing everything off and then
I think
they
it's
just,
like for the 70s if you're in a movie, like, and you
Oh.
happen to have a different style.
But you can buy them for personal use. I love this idea. I think they're going to be popular one day.
Yeah, like some
somebody
have
be like,
glitter on
my,
them.
Valentine's Day Merkin. You can have like whatever, and it'll be matching your outfit. So you like take off your like underwear, and then they'll be matching your underwear. Like I love the idea. Like I don't want a Merkin, but I like the idea that it could be a trend. You know what I mean?
The point is that on our show, we often go in directions.
No one could have predicted.
Yeah, no one could have predicted that we were going to start talking about them for 10 minutes.
It might even have been a show about trauma. Like I don't know. Like it was.
I think it might have been.
It was a show about trauma, and we started talking about Merkins.
Well, you know what? You know who'd be a good audience for it is the little girls who are going through puberty who don't have pubes yet, because they're really embarrassed about that. Like if all their friends have developed, I wouldn't really recommend this, but they're always like, but I don't have any pubes and everybody else. And then when I go to a sleepover, it's embarrassing because I don't want anybody to see that I haven't got any pubes yet.
Interesting.
Merkins.
But if they
guys-
found out you were wearing a merkin, you'd never live it down.
I'm just being real.
Yeah, totally true. You faker.
I'm just putting it out there.
That's the thing.
That is what gets eliminated if we can shorten that space of shame where
Yeah.
everybody gets pre-educated, and then it's like, oh, you're not there yet, like whatever. It's totally normal because everybody is different or whatever.
Right.
My daughter's group of friends are kind of at that, because I've talked to my daughter since reading your book, and two of her best friends, their mothers are really open about it too. Then the three of them talk about it openly, like, oh, this girl has this because she's developing faster than I am. But you know what I mean? Like they're all talking openly about all the things happening to their bodies. For me, my daughter's part of that because of your book, because it gave me like the
Courage.
like strength or courage to be like, I can talk about this. This is normal. I can talk to my girlfriends about it. I don't know why I can't talk to my daughter. I think more of these kind of conversations makes it easier for adults to talk to their children and their children to be okay with it. Then they find other girls that they're okay talking about it. And then because those girls are talking about it, maybe one that has a mother that's not going to is openly talking to those girls about it. And, it's like dominoes.
Ripple
right?
effect.
Yeah, ripple
Yeah.
effects. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's like even my daughter, who's my daughter, right? I asked her, I said, well, she was like 13 and I didn't think she had her period yet. If she did, she wasn't telling me, and I said, have you had your period yet? And she said, no. And I said, what about your friend? She goes, I have no idea. And I said, well, don't y'all talk about? And she goes, never. And I said, and don't you bring it up? And she goes, never. Like, that's none of my business. So I was really interested, that even the kid who grew up, like every day I do a live show talking about this, that she is privy to all of this information, for the last few years. And she's, still like didn't feel comfortable even talking about it with her friends. And so the stigma is great. And I think that, Sarah, to your point, I think that none of our parents, not none, I shouldn't say that. So few of our parents had mentioned, my mom just handed me a box of tampons. That was the whole talk, right? So we don't have any modeling of how to gracefully, I think people are waiting for the talk, and then that makes it so awkward. Like you haven't said anything, and now they're 12, and you're like, okay, here's the deal. Blood's going to come out, the whole thing. And what I think that is better is what some of you guys are already doing is just like, you're just talking about it all the time. I always try and say this on every podcast I'm on. The power play is where the dads can help, where mom is cooking dinner and dad comes in and is like, baby, I got to go to the grocery store. Do you need anything? And she's like, I don't think so. He goes, isn't your period coming soon? Do you need any tampons or pads? Like, it's just out there, right?
I think that's where we are.
Yeah, same.
Because my kids will ask their dad, like we were talking about seeing red, and they're asking questions, and he's answering questions, and I'm answering questions, and it was just our conversation over dinner or whatever.
But they need to be casual. That's what's so great, Meredith. Yeah.
Because then it's just like they feel comfortable talking about anything. It's not easy. But I think that when the dad is also talking about it, if there's an opposite sex marriage, because that way they're like, oh, my mom's cool and dudes seem cool too. Everybody's cool about this. It's not like this, only for the women to know about, and we got to keep it all secret. And also the other power play is that whenever mom is having her period, even if she doesn't have period problems, just some show of dads showing her some dignity and honor, and special care, like, hey, it's your period, the first day of your period. I know sometimes you don't feel that good. How about if I cook dinner tonight? Or how about if I order some takeout for us? Or can I make you a cup of tea? I know you're having your first day of your period. Because that models for her, this is what kind of mate you want to have, who's going to just acknowledge what's happening for you and love and treat you with kindness and loveliness.
Right. So then when you're older, if you don't have that mate, you can be like, listen, first day of my period, I need you to take care of things. And I don't want to have to ask you every month. You just got to know that I'm going to be out of it. So
Yeah.
that's your part.
And that I deserve that, right? And that I'm
Yeah.
worthy of just, I think that is that piece that as I talk to more and more people, just our worthiness is so low. So often people get choked up when I say, like, actually, you're worthy of that. You're worthy of getting all of that, even without doing anything or being anything. People always cry when I say that. All of us are so struggling with our own worthiness, and I think this comes back to the beginning of this conversation. Society told us you're not worthy. You're gross, kind of, and you got this defect of menstruation, and it's just such sand in the eyes of just trying to keep us down
Yeah.
and small, and
also
true.
like sometimes people like to, as a general thing that we talk about a lot in our house, is that when people are putting something down or whatever, sometimes it's because they don't understand it. And so when you misunderstand, you have fear, and fear can make people do terrible things. Right?
yeah.
Well, that's like
Absolutely.
in line with what I was going to say. It's not just your period. You can see when you trace it backwards, just how not even worthy of knowing about were women in the you know what I mean? Because of the male dominant history. And so it's just that, like what you're describing, it's just that byproduct. Like it's just ignorance. And it's translated. I mean, it could even be worse. It could be active oppression. Could be. Do you think, guys? So it's not
Show
just
me the evidence.
menstruation. It's just yeah. That's like that thing, right? Where it's like, well, the water's fine, and then the other person's like, "What's water?" You know what I'm talking about? Like, anyway, just keep thinking about that whenever you speak, Kirsten, because it's so insidious, I guess, right? It's not just talking about it openly, because there's still messaging in our air we breathe, right? About why it's not okay. So it's quite a uphill battle to try to rebrand or like reprogram women in general.
Well, because when you go to the drugstore to get your tampons, if you don't order them online, you have to go to the sanitary aisle.
Sanitary, because you're
Like, look at the labeling.
yeah.
Right? Deodorizing, and so many women on my lives are like, how do you get rid of chronic bacterial vaginosis? And I was like, you have to stop using all that weird soap on your crotch.
Yeah, products made by men are not advised.
Your pussy does not need to smell like strawberry, and all of that fragrance and strong soap is killing all the good. It's a double-edged sword, right?
It makes you more stinky.
It does, right? So it's like, you use the, strawberry vagina soap, which I just infuriates me. And then for a second, you smell like a strawberry, probably still tastes like shit, like
artificial
chemicals,
strawberry.
right? And then it kills off all the bacteria. Then you get BV. Then your crotch really does smell like a dead fish. Then you wash more. And then it's more fishy and more itchy and more raw. And you're like, I can't get rid of it. Wash more. And they buy more. And like, just water. And like, I can't do that.
And yet nobody's talking about the smell of a sweaty testicle, which I'm sure is,
Oh, never talking about
Oh my
it.
God.
you know what I mean? As delicious.
No, it's not even that they don't talk about it. They talk about it, and it's almost like a matter of pride.
It's just like that same thing we just talked
balls,
about.
or whatever. Oh, balls smell.
Oh, balls.
Everybody knows when you say like ball sweat smell. Everyone's like, yep. But it's not like a thing that's embarrassing.
Perfectly accepted.
It's perfectly accepted. It's like,
It doesn't evoke shame.
oh,
Yeah.
I did so many.
I reek. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you disgusting.
Yeah.
It's just your sweaty balls.
Damn. A fucking
Right.
like, and then if we have like this tiniest bit of sweat smell, they're like, baby, you smell funky. You need to go take
Deal
powder
with
up.
that.
Why don't you
People with
smell
that.
like a strawberry? I love to
You
kiss
smell like a-
strawberries.
Because are we having salmon with strawberry sauce tonight?
Sicko.
Oh boy.
But I mean, I think the evidence, like I just made a TikTok a couple days ago. There was, why do you sometimes are smelly sometimes right after sex? And it's basically because men's sperm is very alkaline and our vaginas are a little bit acidic. Their alkalinity throws off our balance and we get like a little micro infection. That got 2 million views in 3 days because the topic was, do you feel smelly after sex or something?
You can smell it.
Yeah.
You can smell the sex in the room.
So many women were like, oh my gosh, my mate has been blaming me for this stink for like since the beginning of time. And really it's their fault.
It's there.
Yeah, you're doing something to me. Yeah.
Like I didn't smell like fish before you unless you're using the strawberry. So
The strawberry sauce.
Wow. Keep doing what you're doing, because like that's 2 million views. It's almost demonstrating to us that's our proof. That's our proof that we're hungry for this, that we're recognizing something instinctively and intuitively within us. Our own wisdom knows we don't need to feel shame. We want to break out of that conditioning around this.
And it's so hard these days. It's kind of hard to find information online, because you Google something and the top hits are just the stuff that like has whatever
Paid the most.
Yeah, and the algorithm and stuff like that.
Or it's
And
from
it's not
Procter and
necessarily
Gamble.
good stuff, right? It's all like WebMD or whatever. And sometimes I'm not ragging on WebMD specifically, but some of these top hits, that stuff they say is not necessarily what you need to hear. It's all every of the top page, everything is saying the exact same thing. And it's hard to find like anything that's credible. And you really do have to have skill to find kind of a credible source. And even then, so for most people trying to find out about something, your top hits might be like, you're smelly because you're dirty, like it's hard to find like the good information.
It's Occam's razor.
It's like there's so much now, like the internet has so much that almost like it has nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to-
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what's the point sometimes, right? And
Well, and even on TikTok, sometimes when I make controversial content like that, that's informative, and I try to be as like data backed as possible. People will pop in and be like, don't listen to her. She's not a doctor. This isn't true. I'm like, here's the link to the study. Now, like on my fertility one, because I say a lot of controversial stuff on my fertility, they'll often say like, she's not a doctor. I'm like, you know what kind of doctor I am? I'm the doctor your fertility doctor goes to when she can't get pregnant. That's what kind of doctor I am.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, never mind.
never mind.
I'll put a baby in you if you're not careful.
And in you, and in you, and in you.
I'll show you what kind of doctor I am.
Supernatural one. Put a baby in you. I don't even know who you are. Pass it over to you.
I do have to tell y'all a story. Speaking of supernatural. So I don't know, we talked about Joe Dispenza's work ever, but
We did.
I got to spend a day with him by like kind of another miracle. And in the meditation, one of the things he asks you to do, you're like in a suggestive station. He's like, okay, imagine your life, your dream life, you imagine it. And then basically what you're trying to do is like, okay, that's your life. Now, what does it feel like? Right. And so what you're trying to do is stop being addicted to whatever you're addicted to, fear, anxiety, hate, whatever, and start addicting to yourself to the feeling that life elicits for you. So you're like, oh, that's my life. What does that feel like? That feels pretty great. I mean, feels amazing, And so when Joe was like, so what's your life? And I told him what it was. And he's okay, that's like awesome. Like there's no good, right or wrong. He goes, can you elevate it even more? And I kind of thought that I was like, had played pretty big, I said, it feels like it's competition. Like, why is this? He goes, well, because the bigger the picture that you paint for self, the stronger the emotion that your response is if that actually is your life. So I was like, well, I don't know. I'd already played like really big. I was like, okay, I won the Nobel Prize in medicine for the work that I'm doing and the Nobel Peace Prize for what I'm going to do with puberty. I'm just making shit up, right? And telekinesis, I can just communicate with people in any time, space, I'm just making shit up, right? A few weeks after I was doing this meditation, my little Chihuahua, she's like 5 pounds. She wears like almost all year round a t-shirt and a jacket. She's just really cold all the time. She does not go outside if it's less than like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If she does, she runs out, pees, and immediately runs back in. She's the kind of Chihuahua that Ricky Gervais would say would like to be carried around in a Louis Vuitton bag by a gay guy, She's princess. So we have to wake up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. The fire things like beep, beep, like change the battery. And we're like, son of a bitch. So my little dog goes in the front and my big dog goes in the back. And just usually it was 33 degrees. So like, almost 0 y'all's 1 degree Celsius. The big dog barks in the front and I look back and the little dog's gone. And I was like, oh, come on. I'm in a tank top and underwear. Like I'm not going out in 30 degrees. So call her a few times and nothing. And then I shake her bowl with some food that usually will make her come. If anything else, nothing. I was like, put clothes on. It's 2 a.m. I walk up and down my street till 5 a.m. Just like tinka, tinka, tinka with her bowl. Beauty, 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 beauty. It's so cold, windy. We're in Texas, man. It's like so warm all the time. And so by 5, I was like, decided she froze to death. She just comes, she does not want to be out. And I was like, something must have got her or whatever. And as I was walking up to my house, I started crying a little bit. I went to Catholic school when I was growing up, and I'm not practicing Catholic anymore. And I was like, St. Anthony, I'm the worst fucking Catholic in the world. He's the guy who helps you with lost things. And I was like, but this dog has just made a difference for so many people. Please don't let her freeze tonight. Please just help her find her way. Just please. And I go to sleep on the couch just in case she scratches on the door. Okay, y'all aren't going to believe this. So 2 hours later at 7 a.m., I wake up. She's not there. I cry a little bit more. I pick up my phone. There is a text from the fucking Catholic Church. And it says,
I heard your message.
hi, this is Betsy from St. Louis Catholic Church. We have beauty.
Oh,
I was like,
Message was received.
message received.
St. Anthony was
gave us-
here.
and she said,
He brought your
the
dog.
priest found her on the front porch of the church when he came in this morning.
Oh,
She walked a mile and a half in like freezing freeze. This dog doesn't want to do anything, right? And it wasn't even like one street. She had to like zigzag over streets. She knows like if she gets lost, she just goes to any door and scratches on the door. She's so cute, people will just take her in. She passed 100 houses on the way that she could have scratched on the door, and then ends up at the Catholic Church at 7 o'clock in the morning. So just a reminder for everyone who's listening that your mind is so flippin' powerful, and that we really underestimate what's possible, and we limit ourselves every single day by what we believe and what we think is true and what we think is real. Anybody who hears this, I hope there's like, we just keep expanding what's possible. What do we think is possible? And keep expanding that. Joe always says, everything that we think about anything is totally fucking made up anyways. If you think you're a piece of shit, that's made up. If you think you're the Queen of Sheba, that's made up. Why not pick something good? It is a choice. Whatever we think is possible is made up. Why not make up something extraordinary? Why not make up telekinesis? Why not make up world peace? Why not make up all young future menstruators feel amazing as they pass through that transition into womanhood and menstrualhood, whatever you want to call it, if you're not a non female oriented person. So, because in the meditation, you always ask for a sign that's unequivocal. You know, like, I hope that if I'm making this connection with the field or whatever you want to call it, that can you just send me a sign every once in a while that like, we're there, we're getting there. And I was like, okay, that's incontrovertible. Like, I can't even.
Message received.
Right. So
Yeah,
Awesome. I love it.
isn't that insane?
I love
Yes,
it.
it's
That's
so
so
great.
I love all of it. Well,
Well,
may we all continue to believe that great things are possible for women and those who identify as being girls and women, and that may we in the very near future be a part of a world that is just open and casual and well educated with female health.
I like it. I was listening to this radio show last night just when I was driving home, and there was this, I can't remember what the artist name, there was a singer. They basically just came out with this album that was about their gender identity. And they're like, basically the songs were just, I don't know, I'm not a girl, I'm not a guy, I'm somewhere in between. And just let me be. Like, quit making such a big deal about it. Like, just let me be wherever I am and quit fucking with me about it. And, you know, it's like so easy to just do that. I don't know why we have to try to control these things and have agendas against people who are just trying to fucking figure themselves out.
fear. I mean, fear. The people who are making those rules are scared that because they don't feel comfortable in their own skin.
They
And it's
don't.
just, right? Sometimes when people are scared, they look for someone to blame, like the blame game. And
What do you
it has
think they're
nothing to do-
scared of? Like,
Not
what do you
fitting
think?
in. When you were just talking, it made me think about how clothes used to just be clothes until someone figured out that if we make boys' clothes blue and girls' clothes pink, then we can sell twice as many clothes. Right. So that was influenced 100% by money, like capitalism. It's really influenced a whole bunch of stuff too that makes everybody freak out. Like, that's based in fear and lack and getting something outside of yourself to fix something inside of yourself. But the fear that you speak of, I think it's not fitting in because everything's been categorized and organized, and this is right and this is wrong and this is what you want and this is what you need.
Yeah, we just feel uncomfortable with uncertainty and operating within the gray. It feels safer to be extreme, you know, on one end or the other. And I think in addition to what you're saying, KJ and Meredith, I also think that we're within a society that reinforces and rewards productivity, action,
Complacency.
yes, conform, like you're
Good
saying, well, we
behavior.
can't shed that. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. It's much safer to conform.
Mm.
And we
Mm.
haven't celebrated or helped ourselves or others learn the skill sets of pausing, reflecting, wondering about things. It's not safe to sometimes go to the tender spots within to try to understand ourselves a bit more, especially if we don't have the words or the language to make sense of it. So it
Or
would
the
require
supports.
that, yeah, that the consumeristic, capitalistic, modern world would have to start pumping the brakes a lot more. And there'd have to be a lot more relational connections and support for people who are in high fear to say, I'm struggling right now. I just noticed that this non-binary person is triggering something within me. Like, it's inviting us to get out of our heads and to sink more into our bodies. And that's scary for a lot of us.
Mm, that's so interesting. I think that the nonconformity is like, when you said that, that really resonated with my experience of people, like, because they feel like they need to brace themselves. Something like, if everybody's not standing in the straight line, something really bad could happen. I
That's
don't
right.
even know what that is.
Right. It's
But
just that
it-
impression.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of drilled into a lot of people, like growing up, you have to do this or this. You know, a lot of people were raised with, you know, rewards and punishments. So it's like, if you don't do A, you'll be punished. And if you accomplish B, you'll be rewarded. But it's all about conforming and not necessarily like just being yourself and trying to be your best self all the time. It's like, we have these things you have to do, and you have to do all of these if you're going to be accepted. And I think it comes down to love, right? Because when we reward people and we punish people, what we're saying is your acceptance and the love for me is conditional. And if you want to be accepted and loved, then these are the conditions. And then when you're older and maybe you've internalized that, and you see some people who aren't following the rules you're raised on, and they're going against it, they're like, but no, wait, that's not okay. We have to stop this because that's wrong. I can't accept it because I know that that's not right. And maybe they don't know why, but they know that there's conditions to
Yeah.
being accepted and being loved. And that's, we've been talking about this whole podcast, that when we have these expectations, we're saying there's these conditions for you to be accepted. And that's part of kind of the, I guess, the shame around,
Yeah.
it's got to be like this and you got to be discreet about it and stuff. And if you're not, then
And we don't love you.
we don't love
We
you.
don't
And we're
love
gonna,
you.
Well, yeah, well, we're
exactly.
back to worth. Yeah, like I was going to say, Meredith, I think you're right. Everything that you've just said, because it's also indirectly communicating that we don't come with an inherent worth.
I was paying attention during the what happened to you.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, part of it comes down to like how you're raised as a child and how you've internalized
Yeah.
what is worth and your identity. And then you get older and they're like, wait a minute, whatever you're doing was not okay when I was growing up. And so I need to stop it now, because if I don't, then what is love for me? How can I ever be loved?
Yeah, well, even if we look at religion, right, in Christianity at least, either you conform or you get kicked out of the garden. And if you are here in an earthly way and you don't conform, then you get sent to hell. So there isn't any absolute worth. It like doesn't exist, because it's like you can transcend the rules, which then gets you booted out of. And growing up in a Catholic family, that was exactly the orientation in my house. I got kicked out of my family so many times, you know, like I call it even excommunicated. They're like, well, you got excommunicated. It's like living with my boyfriend, right? When I was right out of college, they're like, you're living in sin. You're
Sinful.
excommunicated.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, you're only worth our love if you do what we tell you to do, even though you're 21 years old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think to a lot of parents' defense, I don't think they think they're communicating that when they do that. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do the best thing for you. But the underlying message is, if you don't do A and B.
I really believe that everything boils down to love or fear. That's
Me too.
literally it, right?
Me too.
And so what you're saying, Mare, is exactly that, right? Like, you're either acting in love or you're acting in fear, and there is no in between. And so parents sometimes think they're acting in love, but they're really acting out of fear because they don't want you to be rejected. So they do love you, but they're afraid that if you don't step in line, you know, what is society going to think? Or what are people going to think about me? And I think it's really helpful to simplify it that way, because then when you have tough decisions to make, you can really get clear, like, am I doing this because I'm afraid? Or am I doing this, because I love myself and I trust myself and I will proceed because of that. So I think that's from A Course in Miracles is where I learned that one.
We also
But-
talked about it a bit during the Untamed book cycle, I think.
It
right? 'Cause
reminds
she
me
had
of that.
thing. But yeah, that's a good point. You could take any kind of thing and step back and when you're reflecting and say, okay, what does the fear path look like? And what does the love path look like? And the love path is really hard sometimes, especially when it comes to our families and our kids, especially when it means letting them suffer to become who they are, because we have all these important moments in our life, like like your kid comes home and they're upset or they're crying and stuff and you want to go solve their problem, but that kind of stuff hurts. But sometimes all you need to do is be like, I didn't like you do that, but I love you no matter what, so what are you going to do, right? Like
Ironically, the
forward
love
thing.
path involves accepting fear, right? Like I'm gonna feel like, because usually the fear path is about avoiding these uncomfortable feelings, right? So the love path is like, I have to accept that I am gonna be shitting my pants on this entire journey.
It's like the going on a bear hunt song, right?
Yeah.
I would be shitting my pants on a bear hunt as well.
You can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under, you got to go through it.
Go through it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Well, I mean, I think that was
Such a mom of young kids. Sorry.
As a parent, it's really hard though, because children are not equipped to often make a decision that is in their best interest. So I always struggled, like my daughter was getting bullied when she was 15 years old. And I really wanted to get involved, right? Because it was really affecting her self-esteem. And she wanted to avoid pain, right? Because she didn't want me to get involved. It was just like really a hard decision. I wanted to respect her wishes, but I saw that what was happening is actually really hurting her emotionally. And I still I didn't get involved, and I still don't even know if that was the right decision, because it did injure her self-esteem a lot and her confidence. So I think that the love and the fear can get so enmeshed. They're just the sides of the two things can be so,
It's on the
Two
knife
sides of the
edge
same coin,
sometimes.
100%. Because like if you got involved, it's because you're afraid she's going to get fucked up from it. If you didn't get involved, is it because you're afraid you're going to fuck her up for being involved? Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Like,
And
Like-
sometimes you think you picked the right one, and you're like, this is the love path. And later you're like, maybe I could have done that differently. Right? Like
That's when you just have to love yourself.
yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yes, right.
stumble forward.
Stumble
Tumble
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Already a shirt, Kirsten.
That's a shirt on our, at our swag
Sorry about
shop.
that one.
We need a transcription.
Yeah.
Well, we only have 5 minutes left. Thank you so much for coming back on. We
Oh,
just
so
love
good to
you.
see you.
I love you. I
Yes.
love you guys so much. I was like, I thought that I screwed it up and missed it this morning. I'm like, damn it. Not self-love. You're such a loser. Why can't you keep up your schedule? I know. Well, ultimately, the calendar invite will never get it wrong. So
That's right.
after I did that, I just looked at the calendar invite. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can watch some more Marvelous Mrs. Maisel in bed and drink tea for a little bit longer.
I'm worthy, and I'm worthy.
And I'm worthy,
Yes.
even if I struggle to manage my time.
Thank you for
too.
joining us.
Thank you for the invite, for coming back, and happy to join you guys just for any conversation about anything. It's just like a fun coffee hour. So happy to do that.
Do you want to say what your TikTok station is?
Oh,
And your
yes.
website so people
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to connect with me, the best way is on my website. If you go to the chat button, it actually goes to my phone. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with me, foreverbrazen.com. I guess that'll be in the show notes. If you want to follow along on the journey on TikTok at @the_expert. And if you're struggling to get or stay pregnant, we just developed a scoring tool to predict the likelihood of natural conception, and then a strategy to help people to improve those things. So you can get that also at foreverbrazen.com. You just scroll down to the part about fertility. If you have a preteen who wants to know when they're going to have their first period, they can also take the assessment, when's my first period going to come, on Forever Brazen also.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
cool.
I'm gonna do
Cool,
that
cool.
for Matty. Yeah.
I was like, you've got your
That's
period, Sarah.
fantastic.
Not for me.
Doesn't go back in time.
Too late. Too late, Sarah.
Yeah. Oh, and
I
if you
would have
have
done it though. Such a planner. I would have been like, when?
Totally.
Exact
I'm
day.
busy on
You're ready.
Tuesday.
They really, it's not like it's an early kind of version of it. It'll get better as we collect more data, but it's within like 3 to 6 months accurate. So
It's not bad.
Oh, that's great.
Like
Yeah.
it's better than not knowing at all. Like grade
Yes.
7 or grade 8, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well, it's always hard to say goodbye, Kristen.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
True.
really fun.
Okay.
I really enjoy you guys. I wish we could all
Right.
like go on vacation together or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Interrupted. If you'd like to see the video highlights from this episode, please go to our YouTube channel, Book Interrupted. You can also find our videos on www.bookinterrupted.com.
A book club is just a book without members. Join the community by following us on Facebook, Instagram, or sign up for exclusive content through our website at bookinterrupted.com/unpublished. We'd like to give a big shout out to our listeners. Your support makes this all possible. Thank you for the uplifting feedback and for recommending us to family and friends. We love hearing from you. Please reach out through our website at bookinterrupted.com/fans or by emailing connect@bookinterrupted.com. We appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to connect with us. See you next time on Book Interrupted.
Moments you can look forward to on next week's Book Interrupted.
Sometimes I read these books and I want to talk to somebody about it, and people are just like, what are you talking about? Like the birds?
Accepts you, just one of them, observing, and then you get to see all these creatures and basically be part of nature.
I thought it was cool. You got to learn all sorts of different things, which is all
Yeah, it's very
up my alley.
outdoorsy, yeah.
And you get rewarded.
That will work because it's really
That'll do.
beautiful and awesome. Yeah, totally.
And he grabbed the robin egg and popped it in his mouth.
Book Interrupted.
Never forget, every child matters.